Hello and welcome to Radio Spaetkauf Berlin's English language news podcast, this time live from the Mobile Kino Weekender in Klingemühle. My name's, as always, Joran.
I'm Daniel Stern.
And my name is Joel Delroy, and welcome to all of our guests out there. Welcome along to another beautiful weekend at Klingemühle in the Brandenburg countryside, where we've all come to enjoy some music and movies along with the Mobile Kino team. This is the second year we've done this live broadcast for Radio Spaetkauf. It's good fun. It's a nice tradition. I like it.
This was the first ever live recording of Radio Spaetkauf. Was 1 year ago today.
So if you want to hear whether we've improved or not, go back and listen to our archive. I'm not sure. You can all be the judge of that after this fantastic show coming up, where we've got lots of great guests, including three enterprising young men from Syria who are going to tell us about and a way that they've come up to deal with Berlin bureaucracy, which might interest a lot of people here, since we all struggle with that daily. We've also got an update from Mr. Jan Mandik about his political career. And we're going to hear from the organisers of the Weekender about a little issue. They're going to tell us a bit more about that later. And in the meantime, we're going to get on with a bit of short news.
All right, seeing as we are outside the ring and in the wilds of Brandenburg, Joel's collected some short news from the local events that have transpired.
So
from reality, maybe.
We don't need to hear all about what's going on in Berlin when we're on holidays in the woods. So here we go. Local news from the very district we're in. Okay. Police in the village of Grunow have successfully smashed a dangerous people smuggling operation in which hundreds of Ausländer were being transported down the B246 highway on the back of a tractor. It is believed they were being taken to an isolated location where they would be forced to participate in torturous guessing exercises involving obscure Danish film stars. In other news, the discount Berlin vehicle rental company Robin & Vinches has announced it will launch a low-cost public transport service using its trucks following a successful trial run in the Brandenburg countryside. The trucks will run between Neukölln and Friedrichshain via Görlitzer Park. The company believes people will be willing to put up with the inconvenience of a bumpy ride in order to avoid 2 U-Bahn changes. Election observers have reported irregularities in a referendum at the Klingemühle campsite to select a film for public screening. Authorities are concerned about the undemocratic process in which the classic 80s AI comedy Short Circuit 2 was dropped from the ballot, and how supporters of crowd favorite Terminator 2 were tricked into voting against their candidate. It is believed superdelegates from the Blade Runner camp were in control of the organizing committee. Any reaction there, Dan?
What's that? I ran a clean election, and I think the best possible candidate was screened.
Housing activists in the Schlaubertal Naturpark are concerned about a sudden spike in rental prices. They've heard reports of tenants being forced to pay up to 45 euros to sleep in a tent, which is pushing up the local Mietspiegel. The landlords have defended their profiteering by saying they offer unnecessary extras such as unwatchable indie films and indie bands with unnecessarily long names. Campaigns are being organized to stop the gentrification of the neighborhood.
Great. No one's going to boo that? We're just going to let that go? Gentrification? That was some hard-hitting journalism, Joel. I also injured my foot by wearing a flip-flop. So, that's out there. Yuri, you've got an update on your progress to become president of Earth?
Yes.
Well, political candidate for the Neukölln district number
1.
You know what? That's my whole world, so.
Yeah,
Might as well
the whole universe. Well, as we said on the last little recorded update that we published, I have managed to become a candidate at the upcoming Abgeordnetenhaus election in September. Yes, thank you.
And how did you manage that, Yuri?
I like the percentage of people in the audience who are like mulling over whether or not that's a good idea. Like, is that how this should work?
Good woo portion.
How did you get yourself on the ballot there, Yuri?
So I had to get 45 signatures from Germans living in my district for more than 3 months. And 45 didn't sound that much, but as we found out when we were hitting the streets, it wasn't that easy at all, because it takes a lot of time to explain to people and convince them to sign for some run-of-the-mill bleached hair little idiot
at 11 o'clock on a Saturday night.
Yeah, that was smart when we went out on Friday night. Drunk people are easier to convince.
So we went around with pieces of paper going up to people in the streets saying, will you please support this man to be a candidate? Now, what we found when we were on the way is that actually there's a lot of people in Neukölln who are not allowed at all to be part of the political process for some obscure rules, for example.
For example, you can't vote.
I can't vote, even though I'm an EU citizen who's been living in the district for 8 years.
Only Germans can. And so what ended up happening is we walked around and found ourselves racially profiling people to approach. Gotta make sure there's a passport, listen out for the German on the tables outside the bars and intersect those groups.
So basically any kind of a young woman with, darkish skin, no, we can't talk to her. She's probably not going to be a resident.
Yeah, waste of time.
Cool.
You guys keep saying we, and I would just make clear that I didn't do anything racist. It was just you guys.
Well, it's not racist. It's practical. We had to get 45 signatures, and we didn't have time. And we ended up having to basically go to old German men in bars. That was our demo. Okay, where is an old German man? And it made me realize that is kind of the political process in Germany, that only old white German men seem to be able to make decisions. It just really hits you when you're actually out there trying to figure out how to participate in the whole process.
Yeah, and don't worry, guys. We've got a young white German guy entering the political process now. And you know what? I think he should be in a position of power in no less than 30 years, so...
I removed my ego completely from my campaign and just let other people rule me. I'll be a marionette for whoever needs.
That's how they normally are anyway. Yeah, don't worry.
Okay.
But you actually got a tough fight ahead of you because you're up against one of the most popular politicians in the area.
Yeah, last time the election happened in 2011, Anja Kofbinger of the Greens won, and she's been active in federal politics for decades, I believe. So we'll see if I win.
So the best we can hope for is a couple of percent. Well, on that note,
we're just trying to push the process. We're trying to push the issues more in our direction. I mean, there's got to be so many ways in which you differ from her in your policy, right?
Yes, for example. No, they're the same.
Okay.
You know what's really interesting though about this whole thing? Walking around my neighborhood, asking random people that I've never spoken to before to sign for me, it kind of started feeling like I was building a bit of a community, walking around, I know this bar owner, this cafe runner.
We even end up asking
nice.
one guy twice to sign, and he we had to remind us, hey, no, we've already met you last night.
Yeah.
You hit us up.
I know everyone, and everyone knows me.
Well, isn't that the point of building a community campaign and trying to get yourself elected?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought the point was just to come up with content for our podcast.
Yeah, that's the initial thought.
Well, we'll have some more content next week because today is the day when all the election posters start going up on the streets of Berlin. Once we all return from our weekend trip, we're going to start seeing the polls full of placards for different parties. And one thing we always like to do on Radio Spaetkauf is do a little rundown on what each party's promising us via placards. Their 10-word slogan, if they can even get 10 words on there. Yuri, are you going to have placards?
Maybe.
Oh, come on.
Yes.
Your shit. Yes, thank you.
Our campaign's not really going ahead very far. But anyway, we'll keep you updated on the whole campaign, and maybe Yuri might even win, 1%.
Yeah.
That's really what we're shooting for.
All right, now welcome to stage our first guests of the show, the makers of Mobile Kino and the Mobile Kino Weekender.
Thank you. Thanks, folks.
Hello.
Please say your names.
Hello, I'm Joshua.
And I'm Fernando, and we are Mobile Kino.
Welcome, guys. We're very happy to be here again, as we have been the last few years in a row. A great job, by the way. How do you feel about the event this year?
Yeah, very good. The weather was amazing. The mood, I think everyone had a good time. A little bit stressful for us organizers, but we're very relaxed today.
Well, you guys actually have a special announcement for us, don't you?
Yeah, we do. We have a big announcement. This is officially the last ever Mobile Kino Weekender.
Boo!
Yeah, unfortunately, we got sued because of the use of the name Weekender. So we're going to have to change the name. So it's going to be called something else.
The festival go on. We're looking for new names, so if you have any ideas, come and speak to us afterwards.
So Okay, hang on. We don't want to dwell on this too long, but Weekender?
Yeah, basically the apparently we made a mistake, or we actually didn't think about Weekender being a word that could be registered, because it's like saying festival or cinema. I mean, imagine you can register cinema. That would be very hard to sell our films after that.
Right.
So that's basically what happened. Apparently, a company, I'm not gonna say names, but it's called Weekender, is suing us. So, well, it sued us already. We were able to not go to court to settle it. But, well, yeah, we're not allowed to use the name from 31st August. So please, from 31st August, this never happened.
We might just call it the Mobile Kino Weekend.
Unless someone's got a more creative idea. So are you open for suggestions? Should the crowd send in ideas?
Yeah, please do, if you have any good ideas, because we just came up with camp, summer, and shit like that. So it would be nice to have something that's actually cool.
Would it be legal to call it Mobile Kino Weekenderer?
Well, I believe it or not, I was actually asking. We could change it to weekend or weekend-er, you know? But apparently that was too close to the actual name, and that they could sue us again. So that was like, no, we better do summer camp or something more fun.
Well, I'm sure you'll find a name.
There's got to be some way to explain to people that a thing is happening, but not during the week, but in a legally. I mean, I don't. Friday through Sunday, not Monday through. Okay, that's fine. That's. I don't understand the law, but I know that time can be represented in conversation without being sued.
This is a very good brainstorming session.
Well, aside from the legal troubles, guys, we had a fantastic weekend. Some tractor issues at the start, but everyone got here on time. What's your highlights been?
I mean, for me personally, the highlight would be the staff, which are all over there. I mean, really, it sounds very, very cliche. I know that, but without all these people putting the hours, I mean, literally from 9 in the morning, 8:30 in the morning till 4 in the morning. I mean, we all, but especially these guys over there. Yeah, it wouldn't be possible.
They've been with us for a couple of years as well, so thank you for the last 2 or 3 years for some of you.
We also want to say thank you to Tanya and Hamid, who the couple who run the site here, and we'd like to let you all know that you can, of course, come back to Klingemühle anytime you like and rent their cabins if you ever need a quiet weekend without movies. We appreciate them having us here at their little place, which is such a beautiful retreat away from the city. But guys, thanks very much for putting on such a great event. Thanks for sticking up for us in court, and we'll see you back here at the Mobile Kino.
Not, you know, we
To be announced.
To be announced.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, guys.
And now we're gonna.
And one last thing, I'm wearing the t-shirt of one of our sponsors.
And now we've got coming up some short news, and this time they're actually from Berlin.
We do. Some very short news from the city, and this first one is about street music on the streets of Berlin. There's a petition going around to try and save street music. A rapper called Infidelix is running a petition on change.org. He says that street musicians are increasingly being prosecuted by the Ordnungsamt for using amplification. If you stick your guitar into an amplifier, that makes it a prosecutable offense, apparently. And there's no real way you can actually get a permit to have street music with amplification. So it's either, you know, acoustic guitars or nothing. And normally this hasn't been a problem, but the police and the Ordnungsamt lately have been shutting down more events at Mauerpark and on Warschaustrasse. They've been handing out fines and seizing instruments.
How much is the fine?
It can go up to at least 180 euros, because that's what one musician had to pay when they arrived and they busted him. But the crowd apparently on the spot did a whip around and they got out the 180 euros from the crowd, and they actually managed to pay off the fine.
That's nice.
Yeah, but that makes me wonder if it's the police doing a shakedown. You know, like they see a crowd, they see some musicians. Let's see how much we can make out of this one. So anyway, Infidelix is running a campaign to make them stop all of this, and you can find it on change.org. Look up Make Street Music Legal. His argument is that street music, and particularly in those areas, is actually increasing the value of the city. It makes it more interesting. It brings tourists here, so he's even got an economic argument behind it. So if you support that, go ahead and add your name to the list.
There's also a new dog law in effect. Is that right?
Yeah, we've got a few dog owners running around here at the festival. You'll all be interested to know that there is a new law that came into effect at the end of July. It's called the Hundegesetz. It was hotly debated, and the outcome of this law is that everybody who has a dog now has to carry at least 2 plastic bags at any one time, or risk a €35 fine. Now, there's a little bit of an interesting flaw in this idea. If you have to carry 2 bags. What happens if you've already used your bags? What do you do then?
You can keep carrying it around. They didn't say the bags had to be empty, Joel. So, just in terms of, do you have any information about how one could sort of go out as a vigilante on the street and enforce this law? I mean, how do I?
Well, as far as I've seen, it seems to involve a lot of just sort of yelling in German and pointing on the street. That seems to happen already. There's plenty of vigilante action going around dog owners. Don't worry.
All right.
In another bit of sad news, the Blub Badeparadies burned down last week.
Blub Badeparadies, it was a fantastic ruin in the south of Neukölln on the Teltow Canal. It used to be an old swimming pool complex it was huge. It was massive. It had indoor saunas inside, wave pools, slides, and a massive big structure, and it had been sitting empty for about 10 years or so, and was a favorite spot for anyone doing a bit of urban exploring. You jump the fence, walk around, and see some fantastic graffiti. Usually see people doing the graffiti. And 2 weeks ago, the whole thing burnt to the ground, and it was a massive fire. So that's one more ruin that's lost from the city. So you'll have to find other ruins to explore. Now, not so coincidentally, the building was also slated to be redeveloped as apartments. And the developer had not yet obtained the full permission to change the function of the area from a swimming pool to a residential area. I do imagine it might be a bit easier now that there is no swimming pool on the grounds to do that. Just saying.
Right.
Yes. All right.
You're back with Radio Spaetkauf from the Mobile Kino Weekender. Joining us now are 3 very special guests. Please welcome Geith, Munza, and Omar.
Hello everyone, my name is Munzer and I'm from Syria.
I'm Gaif and
I am Omar from Syria.
Well, we're happy to have you here, guys. We invited you here because we were quite impressed with something that you've done recently since you've arrived in Berlin to do with bureaucratic processes, but we'll get to that a little later. Maybe you guys want to just give us a very short story about how long you've been in Berlin and what you've experienced since you've been here.
yeah, I've been here in Berlin since 7 months, around 7 months now. The experience I had was living in a sport hall for 6 months, which was very not pleasant. But it's getting better, and Berlin is very nice, actually.
And where are you from?
Syria, Damascus.
And the sports hall, how many people were living with you there?
Around 150.
And are you still in the sports hall?
No, I managed to escape, to get out.
And you're in a normal apartment now?
Yeah, I actually live in the WG.
Great.
Yeah.
Actually, most people don't realize, but if you've got a WG and an empty room, you can actually offer to rent that room out to refugees. Is that correct? There's a system where people can...
Yeah, actually, but it's a little bit tricky because if you rent the house and you want to rent a room to a refugee, you have to get the acceptance of the landlord to, like, he's okay with a refugee to live in this house.
And what about you other guys? Whereabouts are you living?
I live in the WG as well. I'm here in Berlin since 1 year and I was living in a spot as well, so it's shitty there. Now I live in the WG since 2 weeks. Thank God I moved in. Actually, the most hard part of going into the WG or the apartment is the application that you have to make, like the form that you have to fill, and job center papers and social amt papers. Like every German knows what the meaning of bureaucracy here.
So whereabouts are you from and where are you living at the moment?
Yeah, I'm from Syria, Damascus, and I'm here in Berlin since 1 year and 3 months. I'm living in a hotel. The hotel is for refugees. Um,
And
Yeah,
how have people on the street been? How's it like in the city? How do you get treated?
um,
Do you feel welcome in Berlin?
Not always, but yeah, we can say yes, but not always.
So as you mentioned, when you first got here, one of the things you found was that there's a lot of papers you have to fill out when
Yes.
you arrive, and in fact that's something that everybody who's ever moved to Germany has experienced. That you've got to have big issues with the Bürgeramt. You've got papers to fill out. Now some of us start podcasts and complain about it for 4 years. Other people, like yourselves, actually do a little bit more to resolve the issue. So tell us about what you're doing about
Podcasting is an important part of the process that we all have to participate in.
But other than whinging, you can also actually do something about it, which is what these boys have done. Why don't you tell us what you've done about the bureaucratic situation that you encountered?
So we're making an app called Bureaucrazy.
Who came up with that name? Who's
This
responsible
guy.
for that? That's amazing.
An app for a smartphone.
Yeah, it's a web-based application and a mobile phone. And it's basically, we enter all the official forms and applications ever you have to fill in our database, and we translate it to multiple languages. Right now it's only German, English, Arabic. And the idea is you fill the form, we ask you just simple questions, and you fill the forms in your language. And in the end, we translate it all for you in German, just print the paper ready for you in German. And if you're new here, you don't know how to do anything, or like we arrived here. So the basic idea is just ask a question, how am I going to do this? We tell you where to go, which paper to take with you, and everything you need to do.
Wow.
And the application is not only for refugees; it's for newcomers as well.
So us lazy Westerners can also use this app that you guys have created. Why didn't any other arrival think of this first? Why did it have to take you enterprising guys to arrive? All these years we've had bureaucratic problems. Thank you very much for solving an issue that we've all had. So when is it actually going to go into use? When people can start using it?
Now we're working on the application, the mobile application itself. Like the web page, the web page is it's almost finished, and I think the mobile application we make a deadline like the first of the next year. It'll be on, I think. I hope so.
So clearly you guys have a computer background or a coding background.
Not at all. We start learning coding here in Berlin with Reedy School of Digital Integration, and the best way to learn code is to start building application. Just my from my experience.
So not only did you didn't know how to code, you came here, you learned how to code, you build an app that everybody actually needs, and you all did this in the last 9 months or so.
4 months.
I think there's a lot of people in Berlin who are feeling quite lazy hearing this right now. You're putting us all to shame. So what happens from here? You guys need some money to get the app off the ground? How does it work?
Yeah, actually, because we reached a point where we need actually experts to work with us on the app. Like we did the things that we were able to learn by ourselves or by the Ready School with our mentors and everything. But now we need more expert skills and tools. So yeah, we're searching if someone is interested to actually support this project.
All right, so I mean, I personally, you've already got a really good pun, so I don't really have anything to contribute. But for people who have, let's not say useful skills, but skills more useful than mine, how do they get in contact with you guys?
They can just contact the Ready School on its website or Facebook or our Facebook page. Or you can just contact me, I'm here. Or I'll publish my email everywhere so you can.
So it's Bureaucrazy.
Yeah. It's written the same as bureaucracy, but just remove the S and put Z.
And what happens from now on for you guys? Do you hope to stay in Germany? What's your plans?
Our plan now is stay in Germany to work on our application, to finish our German language, to start new university, start new life. So this is our plan for the next 5 years from now. And as I said, as Ray said, like we hope there's the application that run as soon as possible for the good of all.
Of all mankind.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thanks very much for coming to Weekender. Thanks for building an app, and thank you for being such wonderful guests.
Thank you very
We're
much.
happy to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Let's just keep in mind that none of that would be possible without the hardworking podcasting community.
Oh, come on. Back to the city now with some news from Berlin. This time we've got a bit of an update about the U-Bahns. We like talking about public transport out here. What have you got for us, Yuri?
There's a bit of an argument going on about the renovation of 11 U-Bahn stations, mainly on the U7 and the U9, that the BVG has made a plan for last year, wanting to invest 70 million euros, which is one of the largest investments of its kind in recent decades. The problem with that is that these 11 stations are all post-war architecture heritage, and at the start of the year, an initiative has written a public letter asking the Senator for Building, Regula Lüscher, to look into listing these stations as heritage.
Which lines were these ones on?
U7 and U9 mainly.
Now, the U7, if you go west, it's got some pretty funky architecture, real 60s, 70s stuff. Is it 60s and 70s when it was built?
50s to 80s.
Right. And it's really crazy tiling and strange
Yeah.
patterns. At first I thought it was ugly, but it's kind of grown on me over the years.
No, I love the way the station, like each one has its own little personality, and you can talk to it. And
But some of these tiles have been torn out lately. You might have noticed some stations are looking a bit bare, and they actually went through a lot of stations. There was some tile cracking going on, I understand. And I've noticed them putting in new ones already where they're just putting a really boring tiling and nothing fancy at all. Is this what they're complaining about?
Yeah, there's no effort being made to preserve the original architecture. And that same Senator for Building, Regula Lüscher, has in April actually promised to look into listing it as a heritage. But still, since 22nd of July, which is last week, the south part of the U9 is shut down for construction on Schlossstraße and Rathaus Steglitz, despite all these things working in the background.
So fight on the U-Bahn over architecture. Combination of some of our favorite topics there.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted.
We've got to do a little bit of an update as well. On our last full episode, we had a guest here talking about a font that the BVG had used on their walls, the U8 font.
Mm-hmm.
And our guest told us that the BVG was using that without a proper license to use.
Actually, more you told the guest that.
So the update is that the BVG told their response to that story is that they did not have an official license to use the font, but they subcontracted out to their museum to make the font, and their museum went and purchased a license to the font. Now, the museum being a much smaller entity than the BVG, it was able to get a much cheaper license. So the takeaway from this is that the BVG, just like all of its guests, does try and get the cheapest fare possible. That might be the Kurzstrecke version of the font licensing situation. Also, not to bash the BVG too much at all, they've recently installed Wi-Fi in about 29 of their stations, and they're going to roll them out to another 50 by the end of the year. So you can sit down on the platform at Hermannplatz for as long as you want now using the...
Oh, thank God.
Collect a bit of spare change while you're there.
The data I blow through at Hermannplatz.
And there's also going to be some buses rolling around with Wi-Fi soon enough. And Yuri, when we were out on your election hunt, we actually had to stop and print out some forms. And we had a bit of a dilemma where we were running around Neukölln trying to find an internet cafe, and suddenly realized that this is a dying concept, that the internet cafes of the city are quickly disappearing. And basically, as soon as those old computers in the back room die, no one's replacing them because there's just no need anymore.
Are they going to install public printers at Hermannplatz as well?
Public printers are the one thing you still need around. That's very true. There's still a need for internet cafes.
Except for paper, shouldn't really exist, right?
It's true.
That wasn't on Star Trek. Let's do a little update on the bike lock situation, ongoing investigative journalism on the issues that are really important to the world.
So we might remember a couple of episodes ago, I presented my theories on why there's so many empty bike locks hanging off the poles in the city. Go back and listen to it. There's 6 elaborated theories plus another one sent in by listeners. It turns out that I'm not the only person who's been interested in this topic. A man called Peter Bursma has been collecting pictures of lonesome bike locks, not just in Berlin, but all over the world. He's been doing this for the past 15 years, and he's actually made a whole book about it with all these photos together. So Dan, if you think I'm obsessed by this, you should see what he's done.
I have an update. I did a little investigation. I saw right near my house. I saw a woman. She was unlocking her bike, then took the lock, put it back onto the pole.
No.
Closed it over. And so I went over to her. I was like, hey, I'm from this podcast. We're really important. We cover all the things that really matter to everyone. And I saw that you had unlocked your bike and then left the lock there in place. Like, are you part of some network? Do you have another lock where you're going? And like, what's the deal?
What
And
did she
just
say?
give us. And she looked at me and she said, oh, thank you. I almost forgot my lock.
No.
So I got to the bottom of this one, Joel.
Forgetful people. That was my number one theory, by the way. I will point that
Maybe
out.
she was stoned.
I didn't add. I should have. Sorry, no, I didn't follow up on that.
Well, that actually brings us to the end of our very special weekender edition of Radio Spaetkauf. It went by very quickly. You guys got any gigs to plug, Dan?
Yeah, Tuesday nights at Baumhaus Bar near Schlesisches Tour. I do not know how that's pronounced, but you guys know what the fuck I was trying to say. We'll be doing shows every starting this Tuesday. Was this going to drop tomorrow? So starting tomorrow on the August 2nd and running all through August, there'll be shows there of stand-up comedy, funny people. You know, I guess I don't have to explain stand-up comedy. Yep. So yeah, plug in that one. You can find out about that on theinternet.com.
Well, that's all from us here. Yuri, you got any updates?
No, but I'd like to hear the audience once more, please.
Yeah, thanks for coming along, guys.
Yeah, guys, give yourselves a round of applause for listening to us.
All right. Cheers. Till next time.
Till next time, you can hear this online.
Radio Spaetkauf.